What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus package update and daily news report for Thursday, December 23rd. We are just one day away from Christmas Eve, 2 days away from Christmas, and we have a bunch of updates. First, when is stimulus actually going to come? Are we going to see anything to the American people? We have news on that. We also have a little bit of an update on the stimulus package, what we could potentially see, and when this is ultimately going to come. Also, want to address that the FDA, they did approve another pill today, this morning, just a short while ago, so I will address that as well. And we have a lot of COVID news to get to as well. So, if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Here's what I can tell you. Right now, many people in Washington are saying that Biden's Build Back Better Act, this will be back. That we are not done discussing this, that this must pass according to many lawmakers. They say that we can't be done because it provides too much to the American people. Democratic lawmakers have been saying for months that there's so much good in this bill that it doesn't make sense that it wouldn't pass. But then you have the American people that are saying, what is in this bill for me? So let's kind of address this for a second. Here's what I can tell you. Democrats are saying, and a lot of progressives are saying this as well, and I'm not meaning to bash on either one, but here's what's happening. Democrats are saying that this bill is particularly going to lower costs. How's it going to lower costs? Let's go into that. Let's dive into that. It would lower costs by lowering prescription drug prices. That's one way it would lower costs. But in many cases, that wouldn't happen this year. It would happen like 2023, 2024. So not immediately. How else would it lower prices? Well, it would provide some money for affordable housing. It would lower prices there. Well, there's $160 billion that's going to that. That's cut in half. I think they were trying to get like $350 billion for affordable housing. That ultimately got cut in half, right? But there's still, what, $300 million for a park in San Francisco for Nancy Pelosi? That's in there. How's that going to lower costs, right? And so this is what Democrats have been saying is we're going to lower costs. But yeah, we're going to lower costs to families with children. Because the child tax credits are in there, which is going to provide income, provide money to families, which is great if you have children. But it's not going to do anything for seniors. The bill is going to actually provide, some incentives for, sending your child to daycare because there's these child care tax credits, right? That's in there. We also got universal pre-K, and that's also something that Senator Joe Manchin's pushing for as well, because that's going to lower costs also, because now instead of sending your child to daycare and spending, let's say, $50 a day for the daycare provider, now you get free childcare because you're just going to send them to universal pre-K. And so that's where we're seeing this, oh, we're going to help out the American people because we're going to lower costs. Well, that only works if you have children. That's the main benefit behind this bill, is if you have children. That's it. Now, reports do indicate that progressives are already putting together some form of legislation to get something done. They say that we need to create a new Build Back Better Act that would have the majority of Biden's legislation included. And reports also indicate that the revenue-raising side of this bill was almost secured. There are still a little bit of issues with it, for certain provisions, but the majority of it was secured. The issues came on the social spending side or aspect of this bill. So what does this mean moving forward? Here's what I can tell you. Multiple reports are saying that Democrats' new plan is to have something to move on within the first week in January. And get this, some lawmakers, they want to be in Washington, be back on January 6th. The reason for that is because that would be the 1 year after the Capitol riots. So they want to be back because they want to show the American people that you can't force us out of our capital, that we will be there and we will fight for the American people. That's what they want to say. So that would be 2 weeks from today that they'd be back. Well, technically they're supposed to be off on recess until until January 10th. So got a little bit more time there. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days early that they'd be coming back. So we'll see if they actually do that. If they do, I wouldn't anticipate anything really major happens within that first week, but who knows? We've been shocked before, but I don't anticipate we'll be shocked again. So here's what I can tell you. What will be in this bill? According to multiple reports this morning and yesterday, they're saying that the likely provisions included into this Build Back Better Act that could ultimately pass would be paid leave, universal pre-K, the child tax credit payments, and the Medicare expansion. Those are the 4 things that progressives, and mainly progressives, are going to push for. Well, here's what I can tell you. And you're probably wondering, well, why would Democratic leaders try to push through a bill when they know that Senator Joe Manchin won't support it? Here's what we are hearing. And this is what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has actually alluded to multiple times over the past few weeks, is Democrats are saying that they just want to put a bill on the floor, and they want, especially in the Senate, in order to get Senator Joe Manchin to go on record and say that he is against this bill. Because it's different. Lawmakers say it's different when you go to the media and say, I'm not going to support it. But when you go on record in the Senate and vote against the bill, because ultimately he could say he doesn't support it, but if it were to go to a vote, he would vote for it. Well, guess what? It's never gone to a vote because he's always said he wouldn't support it. So, here's the only problem with this thinking. According to multiple reports, if the Democratic leader, Senator Chuck Schumer, decides to put this on the floor, what could happen is this could ultimately hurt Democrats in the midterm elections, because this just shows that they're not together. They're not united. They're just so divided. And so some people might not vote for Democrats because a Democrat would pretty much tank the bill. So that's the issue there. So we're going to see what happens. But what I can tell you is they are still going to push forward with it. Chances are it will not be a $1.75 trillion infrastructure bill because many Americans are worried about inflation still. Well, of course we're worried about inflation. Why wouldn't we be? It's at 6.8%, and some expect it to be up over 7% just this next month. So, and that I believe comes out. So we still got a few weeks. We still got 2 to 3 weeks before that comes out. So we'll see what happens with the CPI data once it is released. But again, I will be here for that as well. But let's get into some COVID news. Here's what I can tell you. The FDA has now authorized Merck's at-home antiviral COVID pill. Merck's pill has been shown to reduce hospitalizations by around 30%, and this comes just 1 day after the FDA authorized Pfizer's COVID pill as well. Now, this is seen as really good news because these are going to limit hospitalizations, and especially in times like we have today, this is big because hospitals are being overloaded. However, I just want to throw this out there, and I did this yesterday as well. There's going to be delays in getting either one of these pills because right now the delay comes mainly from manufacturing and shipping. Those are the 2 main delays. Manufacturing is going to take the longest. Shipping is obviously going to, hinder getting this out as quickly as possible as well. But the good news is they have been authorized. Now, just to give you an idea, what's the difference between authorized and approved? Technically, the FDA approved the emergency use authorization for this. That's really all it is. Okay, the EUA. That's the emergency use authorization. That's pretty much what we got for the different vaccines as they started to be rolled out. We got the emergency use authorization. It didn't get full approval. Okay, so they still have some checking to do, things like that. But yes, it did get emergency use authorization simply because this is considered an emergency. We're still in this pandemic. So, here's something else you know regarding COVID is yesterday Boston's mayor announced that Boston will now have a vaccine mandate for anybody ages 12 and older. here's how this is going to work. This is interesting, and I want to know your thoughts on this because multiple big cities across the country considering something very similar to this. The mayor stated that the goal here is to ensure everybody gets vaccinated. That's it. Just everybody gets vaccinated, and this is one of their ways to try to entice people, is to force them to get vaccinated in order to do certain things. Now, they're actually going to be calling on waiters, receptionists, front desk clerks, ushers, to help check people in when they show up to their business, because you have to be vaccinated. You have to have at least one dose before January 15th. You have to have the second dose before February 15th in order to enter almost any indoor space. New York, okay, they have quickly become a hotspot for COVID once again. They did break COVID case records again. They say that vaccine efficacy rate is dropping. And in New York City, they're actually offering $100 booster incentives for people to go get fully vaccinated. We also know that the COVID isolation guidelines could change very soon according to the CDC. Currently, vaccinated people must quarantine for 10 days. Unvaccinated people must quarantine for 14 days. Now, Britain, and I don't want to throw this out there because I think this is kind of interesting what's happening, but Britain actually went from you had to quarantine for 10 days, and they lowered it down to 7 as long as you showed a negative test on day 6. Okay, think about that, because the CDC states that you can still test positive after day 10. Let's say you're vaccinated or not, and we'll just use vaccinated, all right? You're vaccinated, you test positive after 10 days, the day after you test positive, 10 days after, you go and get tested again, and you still test positive, but you have no symptoms. Well, the CDC states that if you have no symptoms over the past 10 days, and you test positive on day 10, you're actually not infectious any longer, so there'd be no point for you to continue to quarantine. But I thought this was interesting because Britain went from 10 days down to 7 as long as you show a negative test, but on day 6 you could potentially still test positive. I think this is interesting because right now we have no clue what the CDC is even thinking. All they are saying is that yes, changes could come very soon. So as soon as I know more on that, I promise I will fill you in on those updates as well. Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.